She placed her hand on Prince William's back inside Buckingham Palace, and he moved away so fast that people near them felt the air change. That was the kind of moment palace people never forgot. Not because it was loud, not because anyone shouted, but because in royal life, the smallest gesture can say the biggest thing. Let's talk about what really happened. On the surface, this story looked polished. Cameras flashed, smiles were in place. Public events kept moving. From the outside, it was another chapter in the modern royal picture, full of glamour, titles, and carefully managed appearances. But behind those bright photos, accounts from journalists and insiders painted something colder, tighter, and far more uneasy. And in the middle of it all stood Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. She was not some random commentator guessing from a distance. She had lived this life for years. She had entered the royal family from the outside and learned step by step what it cost to survive there. She had made mistakes in public, adjusted in private, and earned something rare in that world. Quiet trust. Not flashy attention, not tabloid heat. Trust. That is why her words landed so hard. When Sophie spoke, people did not hear gossip first. They heard someone who knew the rules of the house. What many people don't know is that Sophie's concern, as described in the script, was never framed as simple dislike. It was not the usual palace rumor of one woman not warming to another. It was deeper than that. She seemed to suggest that from the start, something felt slightly off about Meghan's approach to royal life. Not wrong in a dramatic movie way, just misaligned. Like someone had walked onto a chessboard thinking it was a stage. And that difference mattered. Because the monarchy is not built to reward whoever shines the brightest. It works on rank, patience, restraint, and a strange kind of disappearing act. The system asks people to step back so the institution can stand forward. Sophie had done it, Catherine had done it, others before them had done it too. But the picture painted in this script suggests Meghan did not see the system as something fixed. She saw it as something that could move. That was the first crack. Then came the early moments people inside royal circles reportedly noticed. A Christmas gathering at Sandringham in December 2017. A wedding in May 2018. A garden party just 72 hours later. Small scenes, small gestures, small pauses. Yet in a palace, those are often the moments that matter most. According to the script, what bothered observers was not one dramatic act, but a pattern, a way of closing distance, a way of placing herself near Prince William, a way of creating an image of comfort that insiders believed did not match reality. No claim of romance, no claim of secret affair, just something more slippery, a pattern. And patterns are what make royal staff nervous. On this particular occasion, even a cheek kiss was described as lingering too long, a hold of the arm, a shift in body language, a quick stiffness from William. Taken alone, each moment might seem harmless. People greet each other, families interact, public figures smile through awkwardness every day. But when staff members trained to read posture, space, and protocol begin quietly noting the same kind of thing again and again, the room changes. These stories provide insight into how the palace reads behavior. Outsiders often imagine the royal family as one giant soap opera. In truth, it is closer to a machine. Every move has meaning. Every public image has weight. Who stands where? Who speaks first? Who touches whom? Who steps back? Who leans in? All of it matters. So when Sophie in this script supposedly drew attention to Meghan's repeated focus on William, the suggestion was explosive, not because it proved scandal, but because it implied strategy. That is what gave the story teeth. There is also the human side of it. Palace tension rarely starts with one huge event. It starts with discomfort no one wants to name. A look held a second too long. A seat quietly contested. A conversation interrupted. A public image shaped in a way that leaves one person looking central and another displaced. According to the script, this was how concern began growing, not through one unforgivable act, but through the steady pressure of moments that did not sit right. And Sophie, we are told, noticed early. She had lived inside the same walls long enough to know when something was drifting off course. Many are questioning how much of this was truly visible at the time. The public saw the so-called Fab Four: William, Catherine, Harry, and Meghan. The idea was powerful, young, modern, fresh, united. It made sense on magazine covers. It played beautifully on television. It gave the monarchy a new storyline. But some of the most polished royal images are the ones hiding the deepest strain. That is where this story becomes more than social gossip. Because if the script is followed closely, Sophie's view was not just about personality conflict. It was about two different value systems colliding. One system said, service comes first, ego second. The other, in her telling, seemed shaped by visibility, momentum, and personal brand. In one world, you wait your turn. In the other, you build your own spotlight. Those worlds were never going to fit together easily. And still, that was only the beginning. There were later claims of backstage tension at the Royal Foundation Forum, reports of seating choices, interruptions, and subtle efforts to shift visual power. There were whispers about palace records, internal reviews, and a growing sense that the surface story shown to the public was nowhere near the full one. But before any of that exploded, there was the feeling. That strange, hard-to-prove feeling inside a royal room when people start realizing they are not all playing the same game. The smiles were real enough for the cameras. The trust, according to this version of events, was already breaking. And once trust breaks in a family like this, everything else starts to move with it. Slowly at first, then all at once. To understand why Sophie's words carried so much force in this script, you have to go back to the women already inside the system. Sophie was not born royal. Catherine was not born royal. Both entered a world with old rules, fixed ranks, and deep habits. Both had to learn when to speak, when to stay silent, when to be seen, and when to vanish into the work. That adjustment did not happen in a week. It took years. And that is what makes the contrast in this story so sharp. Sophie understood what it meant to give up part of your old self so the institution could stay whole. She married Prince Edward in 1999, and over time, built a reputation for discipline, steadiness, and loyalty. She had known public embarrassment. She had known criticism. She had known what it was like to be watched and judged. But she stayed, adapted, and became one of the figures the late Queen was said to value deeply. That kind of history changes how a person sees newcomers. Royal insiders remember how carefully outsiders are usually guided. There are protocols, expectations, unseen maps of behavior. Some people find it suffocating. Some find it stabilizing. But no one enters that world without being reshaped by it. That was part of the deal. According to the script, Sophie believed Meghan did not come in ready for that exchange. Not fully. Not really. What many people don't know is that discomfort inside royal life often begins long before the headlines catch up. By the time the public starts sensing a feud, the people inside have usually been living with tension for months, maybe longer. And the script suggests that by late 2017, concern had already started forming behind palace doors. It began with attention, not the ordinary kind, not the harmless desire to make a good impression. The script frames it as a more targeted kind of attention, one that seemed drawn less toward duty and more toward influence, less toward learning the system and more toward reaching its center. And in this version of the story, that center looked a lot like William. That is where the pattern starts to take shape. First, Sandringham. December 2017. A family setting, but not a casual one. Royal Christmas gatherings are layered with old traditions, invisible lines, and constant observation. According to the script, some observers noticed interactions that felt unusually warm, even before formal titles were in place. Again, not scandal, not a tabloid bomb, just enough to make palace people look twice. Then came the wedding in May 2018. The world watched the ceremony. It was one of those giant royal moments built for history books and social media at the same time. The romance, the dress, the crowds, the carriage, the commentary, it all fed the story of a bright new future. But the script says that just days later, at a garden party, some people inside the royal orbit noticed a moment that felt oddly intimate, a greeting too familiar, a hold too lingering. William, it says, appeared to stiffen. That detail matters because it kept returning in different forms, not one event, a pattern of moments. At first, it could be dismissed. Cultural difference, different social style, misread body language. These explanations often come early because no one wants to believe a deeper conflict is taking shape. It is easier to say someone is informal than to say they may be testing boundaries. But then, according to accounts in the script, more moments stacked on top of each other. By October 2018, inside Buckingham Palace, Meghan allegedly placed a hand on William's back. He moved away. The move was subtle, almost invisible. Yet in a world trained to read the smallest shift, it spoke loudly. Months later, at a polo match in 2019, the script claims Meghan repeatedly drew close to William, directing attention toward him more than Harry. Again, this was framed not as romance, but as image-making, a quiet production of closeness. What many people don't know is that palaces run on accumulated memory. Staff notice repetition. Senior royals notice tone. A single awkward moment may disappear. Repeated moments begin to form a file in people's minds, and apparently, maybe even a real file too. Before that part of the story opened up, there were warning signs from the public side as well. The Fab Four narrative was being sold hard. William, Catherine, Harry, and Meghan were presented as a new team, a younger, brighter branch of the monarchy. It looked clean, it felt exciting, but the script suggests that behind the scenes, that image may have been covering strain instead of reflecting unity. The Royal Foundation Forum became one of the clearest examples. On stage, the four looked composed, purposeful, modern. They spoke about mental health and joint causes. It was the kind of appearance that made newspapers happy. But according to the script, backstage accounts told a rougher story. Seating plans were reportedly challenged. Meghan was said to have placed herself beside William rather than beside Harry. Conversation overlap, interruptions, and shifts in body language added to the growing sense that something inside the group was off. To Sophie, these were not harmless social slips. They were signs. And once she began reading them as signs, the whole story changed. The warning was not that one woman was rude. The warning was that she might be trying to rewrite the logic of the room. That is a very different thing. Royal life is built on hierarchy, and hierarchy does not like improvisation. It especially does not like improvisation from someone who has just arrived. Insiders, as described in the script, seem to feel the same way. Palace staff reportedly began documenting behavior, not as juicy gossip, but as observation. In an institution like that, writing things down is its own kind of alarm bell. It means discomfort has crossed into concern. And still, from the outside, the fairy tale was mostly intact. That is what makes the backstory so effective. The contrast is brutal. Publicly, there was beauty, novelty, momentum. Privately, there was unease, note-taking, and a growing belief among some that the monarchy was not dealing with a simple personality clash, but a serious challenge to structure. Then came the moment the private worry stopped feeling private, and once that happened, nobody could pretend it was just a misunderstanding anymore. The crisis, in this script, did not arrive with a slammed door or a single screaming match. It arrived through accumulation. Then one day, it had a shape. On that particular occasion, Sophie's account pointed people towards something even bigger than public awkwardness, a quiet internal HR review launched in March 2021. That detail changed the tone of the entire story. Suddenly, this was not just about gossip passed between insiders or body language read at public events. It suggested formal concern inside the institution itself. A review means somebody, somewhere, thought the pattern was serious enough to record. That is the kind of detail that makes a palace story stop feeling decorative. According to the script, the review was launched just before global attention swung hard toward the Oprah interview. And that timing matters, because for many people watching from the outside, the Oprah conversation became the emotional center of the Sussex story. It reframed Meghan and Harry as wounded outsiders speaking against a cold institution. It shifted global sympathy. It hardened divisions. It gave the world a very clear version of events. But Sophie's version in the script pushes against that clean picture. She suggests there was another story running in parallel, a quieter story, one kept in files, memories, staff observations, and internal concern, not just claims of mistreatment, but a broader record of behavior that challenged the rhythm of palace life itself. Late-night messages, informal routes taken where formal channels were expected, personal boundaries crossed, senior figures unsettled. And here the script slows down for a reason, because what shakes an institution is rarely one explosive act. It is the repeated act that forces people to admit a pattern exists. A single awkward text can be ignored. 10 create a story. One breach of protocol can be forgiven. Repeated breaches turn into a question of intent. That is exactly where the crisis lives. Was this confusion, or was it design? That question appears to sit under everything in the script. Sophie's framing, as written here, leans hard toward design. She presents Meghan not as someone lost inside an ancient machine, but as someone trying to bend it. That is a serious accusation, even when wrapped in careful language. It turns the entire conflict upside down. Instead of a woman crushed by old rules, this version shows a woman testing them, pushing them, and then reacting sharply when they did not move. And once that belief took hold, the fallout spread everywhere, inside the family first. The script says the bond between Harry and William did not collapse in one clean break. It was worn down. Late 2019 becomes important here. Communication narrowed, casual contact fell away. Invitations became harder. Messages were delayed, redirected, or filtered. Some reasons reportedly came through Meghan. More space was needed. Priorities had changed. Things could not be as easy as before. That may sound small. It was not small. In families, repeated small blocks do something brutal. They change the feeling of access. They make one brother feel far. They make every missed call mean more than it should. They turn normal friction into emotional proof. According to the script, Harry's world became more contained over time, more centered on one voice and one interpretation. That part lands hard because it connects the palace tension to something deeply human. Harry was not being described simply as stubborn or rebellious. He was being described as vulnerable, shaped by old grief, old wounds, and the lifelong pressure of growing up as the spare. That makes the crisis sadder, because now this is no longer just about power. It is about influence over someone already carrying pain. Then came public symbols of the split. Archie's christening in July 2019 is one of them. Traditionally, these events follow a known royal pattern. Public access is carefully managed, but not cut away from history. Yet the script describes a break from precedent, more privacy, less information, tighter control, fewer images. To some that meant independence. To others inside the monarchy, it looked like a declaration that established rules no longer held. And that is how crisis spreads in royal life, not in straight lines, in symbols. A withheld detail becomes a message. A denied request becomes a wound. A boundary becomes an insult. By the time public exits, interviews, and legal fights came into full view, the emotional ground underneath the brothers had already shifted. According to accounts in the script, what the world later saw as a dramatic royal split had been years in the making. The explosion came later, the fracture came first, and once a fracture reaches the heart of a royal family, the institution feels it too. The fallout did not stop at personal pain, it moved into constitutional ground. Titles, security, public duty, recognition. The script says that after Queen Elizabeth II died in 2022, questions around Archie and Lilibet's titles pushed the argument into a larger battle. Sophie's remarks, as presented here, frame titles not as cute labels for children, but as symbols tied to lineage, trust, and accountability. That is a heavy frame, because it means the palace, in this telling, was not just hesitating over image, it was weighing principle. Security questions did the same thing. Harry's fight over police protection became, in Sophie's version, a question of whether full protection could be separated from full duty. Can someone leave the role but keep the full shield? That was the issue. By then, the confrontation was no longer private. It had moved into media, legal argument, public sympathy, and palace strategy. And the palace response, the script suggests, became colder with time. Less interested in reconciliation, less willing to reopen doors. By late 2024, according to this version, the mood had hardened. The idea of another peace summit faded. Finality took its place. Still, even then, the full truth was not out in the open. Because the crisis was never only about what happened, it was about who got to define what happened. And that battle was still going. By the time this story reaches its final shape, the question is no longer whether there was tension. The question is what that tension meant. Accounts from witnesses reveal a version of royal life where tiny moments carried enormous weight. A cheek kiss, a hand on the back, a contested seat, a repeated move toward Prince William, an internal record, a slow hardening between brothers. A review launched quietly before a globally watched interview shifted the public mood. Individually, each detail can be argued over. Together, they create a picture. And the picture, in Sophie's telling, is not of chaos without pattern, but of ambition meeting a structure that would not bend. That is the truth this script keeps returning to. Not a truth proven in court, not a truth signed by every side, but a truth shaped by repetition, insider memory, and institutional reaction. According to the script, Sophie saw Catherine as the clear opposite pole in this whole saga. That contrast matters because it sharpens the moral logic of the story. Catherine is described as someone who never needed to fight for the spotlight. She built her image through persistence, not noise. Through schools, early childhood work, mental health causes, and a kind of quiet service the monarchy understands and rewards. Meghan, by contrast, is framed here as movement, speed, image, and disruption. Whether a reader fully accepts that contrast or not, it explains why Sophie's remarks place Catherine so firmly at the center of royal steadiness. It was not just personal preference, it was almost ideological. Catherine represented continuity. Meghan, in this telling, represented reinvention. And the monarchy has always trusted continuity more than reinvention. That is why public reaction became so fierce. Many are questioning how the world should read these competing stories. One version says a modern outsider entered an old institution and was pushed out by rigidity, jealousy, and cruelty. The other says she entered with a strong sense of self, tried to shape the system around that self, and turned against it when resistance became unavoidable. Both versions are emotionally powerful. Only one, according to Sophie's testimony in the script, matches what palace insiders believed they were seeing. This is what made the scandal feel bigger than family drama. It became a fight over narrative itself. Public reaction followed the same split. Some saw bravery in speaking out. Others saw strategy. Some saw racism, exclusion, and emotional abandonment. Others saw branding, timing, and selective storytelling. The script points toward declining support for Meghan by late 2024 and 2025, especially when compared with Catherine and William. Those numbers are used here not just as data, but as symbols of public trust drifting in opposite directions. And public trust is the real currency of monarchy. Without it, titles feel theatrical. With it, silence becomes strength. That may be the coldest point in the whole story. The palace, according to Sophie's framing, did not win by shouting louder. It won by refusing to play on the same stage. While interviews aired and deals were signed, Charles and William stayed largely silent. In the script, Sophie describes that silence not as weakness, but as final authority. A refusal to fight in the arena chosen by the other side. That kind of restraint is powerful when it works. It can also look cruel. That is why this story remains unsettled. Because even if one accepts Sophie's interpretation, the emotional wreckage is still enormous. Harry and William, once presented as brothers shaped by loss and bound by memory, ended up divided by distance, distrust, and competing versions of loyalty. A family problem became a global media war. A private wound became constitutional debate. Children's titles, security disputes, interviews, documentaries, charity image, brand identity, all of it became part of one long struggle over what royalty means in the modern age. And yet the monarchy, as this script insists again and again, endured. That may be the final truth. Not that one side was pure and the other false. Not that every whisper was right. Not that every silence was noble. But that the institution survived by returning to its oldest habit, waiting. Waiting for outrage to burn out. Waiting for spectacle to fade. Waiting for history to sort performance from permanence. By late 2025, this script says the Sussex brand had begun to show strain. Public momentum weakened, commercial shine dimmed, donations dropped, media partnerships no longer felt unstoppable. Sophie's interpretation of that decline was blunt. It is hard to profit from royal connection, while also insisting the institution itself is beyond repair. At some point, the message splits under its own weight. That is a brutal line, and maybe that is why it lingers. Because beneath all the headlines, this story is really about something older than monarchy. It is about power and belonging. About what happens when someone enters a closed system and refuses its terms. About what happens when a family mistake becomes a public identity. About how loyalty looks noble from one side and suffocating from the other. These stories provide insight into more than palace life. They show how modern fame collides with ancient duty, how personal truth can become public weapon, how silence can protect but also wound, how image can rise fast and crack even faster. In the end, the deepest chill in this story does not come from one touch, one quote, or one broadcast. It comes from the feeling that everyone involved believed they were defending something sacred. For Meghan and Harry, maybe it was freedom. For William, Catherine, and Sophie, maybe it was order. For the monarchy, it was survival. And when survival becomes the goal, warmth is often the first thing to go. That is why this story still hangs in the air long after the cameras move on.